Well, today we will be talking about an issue about the senior citizens. And as we all know that there are a large number of elderly people living in our country, about 140 million of them, but not all of them are fit and fine. And many of these millions of elderly people become sooner or later dependent on their family members or anyone on whom they can fall upon, even for their basic activities of life day to day. So, with this kind of a thing, I will just share the screen and proceed very shortly. And here is my screen of the transparencies. I would put it on the full screen, and here we go. So this is the topic that I would be briefly discussing today. And an old person can become partly or totally dependent on family members due to limitations in his many activities. This may be in terms of his movement or mobility. He may have an impaired memory. He may have difficulty in taking bath by himself. He may have impairment in vision as his age advances, and the same applies to impairment about hearing. He may have difficulty in dressing himself. He may be unable to climb stairs. He may have difficulty in going to toilet, and he has a tendency to lose his balance. He may fall down, and he may sometimes even have to be fed because he himself is not able to feed himself. This kind of a dependence increases as the age goes on, but also importantly, because the old people have also sometimes adverse situations to face. I have arranged them alphabetically. The list is by no means complete. First is age discrimination. I think society at large, not consistently, but sometimes they do discriminate against age, old age, which may go to sometimes some kind of a neglect for the elderly people and sometimes even abuse of the elderly people. Second thing is, as the old person is himself or herself is an elderly individual, so he finds that in his presence, dear and near ones are leaving this world. He's he's bereft of social support and company of those people. It may be spouse or it may be anyone else in the family. They may also contract a number of diseases at the same time. There may be one, two, three, or even more diseases, and which are often lifelong. He has to live with these diseases and take medicines and other precautions to keep the disease under check. Some of the elderly are feeling depressed. They easily get fatigued and exhausted by day to day work. Then I think an important point is that very often many elderly do not have enough income to support themselves. They have a disconnect with the generation, particularly the second generation, like grandchildren, etc. Everybody is busy in their own affairs. Then, because of the declining immunity, they have difficulty in healing of anything that they get into. They may also have difficulty in coping with the psychological stress. They cannot really be so resilient as young people are. And finally, many elderly people find themselves isolated and lead a lonely life. The family members who look after such elderly people with great sustained efforts may face further strain if his old relative also develops certain diseases, which I have listed again alphabetically. Again, the list is not complete. Arthritis, difficulty in walking, joint pains, etc. If he gets a stroke or brain attack, he might get bedridden, requiring a lot of support. He may have cancer of any part of the body. Diabetes also requires continuous medication all his life, generally. High blood pressure applies to same high blood pressure also. Then they have difficulty in keeping their balance intact. They become very weak, they start losing weight sometimes, and they may fall and injure themselves. Then dementia is another set of diseases where they not only forget anything routinely, but they also forget their own relatives. They cannot recognize. They cannot recognize the way back to his home and get lost. Heart disease, and of course, episodes of infection, maybe chest infection or urinary infection or stomach infection or so on. So if so many difficulties become a part of elderly person's life, help from a family member, which we call as informal carer, or help from a paid worker from an outside agency, which we call as formal carer, is definitely required to carry out a long drawn, hard and tiring job of giving care and attention to such elderly people. And what is caregiving dimensions? The dimensions are very wide. There are lots of things that one has to do for the elderly people. And this is not only wide caregiving dimensions, also they are complex. Of course, some may be simple, like just giving the company to a lonely person, helping him in homemaking, giving him advice and counsel to get some good things in his psyche, assuring him, giving him some kind of entertainment like TV or music playing, or taking him outside in the natural surroundings briefly, helping him in mobility, toileting, bathing, dressing, feeding, giving him proper diet as per medical advice, encouraging to do some exercise, handling his hearing aids, glasses, dentures, footwear, foot care, nail care, etc., giving him some physiotherapy, changing his diapers, urine pods, bed pans, assessing his vision, hearing, and weight at regular intervals, giving medicines when required, care of wound if there is one any, or specific care of any diseases if it exists in him, and of course contacting doctors, nurses, etc. Important thing is that caregiving requires medical advice as and when needed. So given that an easily available and a selfless, cost-effective service with dedication, compassion, and patience is the best pet for the afflicted elderly who is also emotionally marginalized. So he needs some kind of dedication, compassion, sorry, and positive attitude. So in this kind of scenario, it is a family member who often fits the bill. But are the family members always available? If available, are they fully trained to care? And importantly, are they able to withstand additional workload and disruptions in their own career, financial, and household obligations? So, what is the way out? There are three ways that I have enumerated here. For the family member, simple thing is, if there is availability of an alternative family member, divide the responsibility. Say yes if you are offered some kind of assistance from the untraditional quarters. Take some time whenever you can, get out of the house, enjoy the outside surroundings, share your emotions and feelings with anyone in whom you can confide, and never compromise on your own sleep. Otherwise, you will be fatigued the next day and you will not be able to look after your elderly relative so efficiently. And whenever available, join a support group for timely encouragement and advice and even some remedial measures for caregiving stress. Second thing is about private paid caregiving. It has come up as a thriving industry with placement agencies presumably complying with the required ethical and legal provisions to avoid misconduct, negligence, and financial exploitation. Because these are not the family members, these are outside paid formal caregivers. And third is government and civil society's role. I think financial incentives like subsidies, tax incentives, and long term care insurance are needed and should be provided in lieu of caregiving or paying for the same caregiving by an outsider. There should also be provision for registration and regulation of private players, and whenever respite care systems and family caregiver support systems are available, or they should be made available by the civil society and other policy makers, they should be taken advantage of to reduce the caregiver's stress. So with this, I come to the end, and I hope I have given some brief tips how to care for elderly. And if you like the video, please share. Thank you very much.